Okay, I'm back. I'm on early today because I am going to be on Amber's um, Philo uh, podcast at 5:30 tonight, or at 6 o'clock tonight, I guess, Pacific. And so I want to do this a little earlier today so that I got my time in on Ralph. Um, the I got a lot done. I got a lot done on this thing. So here's where he is right now. Um, Full mane of red hair. He's still a little bald in the back, but he needs about maybe 5 or 6 more tufts coming out, and then he'll be done with that. I love how wild his hair is too. Um, so what I have used up virtually all the red fur I had. I have about that much left, so I'm not gonna have enough to make Ralphie's head. But I did find some similar fur online. Should be here tomorrow or the next day, and hopefully um, it'll match well enough that I can use some of the leftover I have, but more than likely it'll be slightly different, and so I'll have to basically make all of Ralphie's off that. But it's okay if they're a little bit different because any of the subtle things I can do to make these two characters look different is just a plus, because so many people have problems differentiating the two. So I think some subtle things like, oh, the hair's a little different color or skin tone's a little different color, will just add to the fact that the expressions and personalities are so much different. Also, Ralphie won't have any type of IMEX, so he'll be a little bit easier puppet to manipulate. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm just going to be sewing these ostrich plumes onto the ends of all these things. I made a bunch last night, so I have, what is this? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 more of the big ones and 4 more of the little ones. And then I should be able to at least tack on all the pieces. I don't know if I'll get them done tonight, but I'd like to get him in a place where I can put the antenna tops on and paint them tonight so that his head will be done tomorrow, which would be great. I did start working on another project that I had to get to a stopping point on because I need to get more foam. So allowed me to work on Ralph just a little bit more today. Oh man, did I mess this up? I'm trying to see. I think maybe it's okay. It looked for a second like the thread had gone around the wrong side, which I think it didn't. Okay. I probably could have fixed that if I needed to. This has basically been the feed for the last 3 days, me making these red tufts. But I think it'll all be worth it in the end. It's easier for me to kind of mass produce these for a while and then get into the mode of sticking them on rather than doing them one off at a time. I think he does have about twice as many of these tufts as the last version of him done. Oh, who's here? Hey, Dave. Is this Ralphie or Ralph? This is Ralph. Still Ralph. I've just about got all the hair made to go on here. I had to order more red fur because I'm not going to have enough for Ralphie. So we'll see when that comes. When that comes tomorrow or the next day, how close it is to the original. I may just start over from scratch with the hair on Ralphie so that it'll all stay consistent. I'm never going to get this thread done, though. Come on. See? I was doing fine until I tried starting to lick it. There we go. This entire podcast is about me threading a needle. Or live cast, or whatever this is. This entire moving picture. Okay. Hey Dave. Yeah, today's going well. I'm actually going to be drawing tonight on Amber's podcast or live stream. Philo, which I'll put a link up to later. So I wanted to do this earlier today so that I could at least get a little bit done. I was just going to do it while I was sitting here, but I was like, oh, I can get on and talk to the people. Entire life on camera. This is a fairly simple pattern. It's just basically, I have 3 tick marks on here. And when I get to the end of sewing up to that first tick mark, I fold over the bottom and line up the center one and make like a little pyramid. I sew shut. And that's just so it'll stand up. I think it's the exact same pattern or similar to the one I do out of yellow for Mayberry, and I do one brown for Sammy as well. It's because this is the way I draw. My life would be a lot easier if all my characters looked like Lex Luthor. I had an old Ralphie nose at one point that I was going to make. An old Ralphie version because he showed up in the strip so many times, but I don't know what happened to it over the years. But he was mostly bald, so he would have been easier to make. Okay, only 75 more of these to make. Not really. Thank you for hopping on. What's your dog puppet's name on your comic strip? It's adorable. 1 second. That's Sam. That's Sam T Dog. So there's Sam the dog, and then there's Sammy the Hammy, who's the giant hamster engine, which I didn't even realize I was doing until many years into the strip. And by now it's kind of too hard to change it. Unofficially, his name is Hammy. Or one is Sammy and the other is Sam. And one is Ralphie and the other is Ralph. It's all the internal logic that a 12-year-old who created all this stuff made perfect sense to him. But it makes it easier because all you have to do is remember Mayberry, Roberta, Ralph, and Sam, and you've pretty much covered all all 7 of the characters. Or 6. There's also Julia. Yeah, anything I didn't cover, I mean, other than the building of that mech, I tried to videotape as much as I could, but there was just so much wrestling I had to do off camera that I couldn't concentrate well enough on camera. So unfortunately, that's probably going to be lost to the cosmos. But anything I didn't hit on Ralph, I'll podcast or I'll live stream when I do Ralphie, so you can kind of see more about what I'm doing here. It's one of the great things about making 2 nearly identical puppets. I think I have one of Ralphie's old bodies here someplace. Seems to me I came across it when I was looking for something else, but I can't seem to find it. It's not going to be the body I use because at that time I didn't have any type of foam liner in there, so it would just be a sleeve. Because I was trying to make him real skinny, but I think he's going to have a little bit of structure just so that the arms will fit on a little bit better. All this fluff. I love Sam. Thank you. I love him too. He's a good character. And he actually originally the original, I still have it actually. Come on, what do you say here? What did you say? Not the Tilly one. I'll tell you what the frustration was. So you said I could see you were getting a bit frustrated. I'm sure it's tough to brainstorm and juggle during a live stream at the same time. I wasn't getting so much frustrated with the live stream. I was getting frustrated because I had planned it all out. I had prepped everything so that it would be easy for me to show you how to put it together. And it basically had been sort of test fit based on the uh, based on the prototype. However, they weren't identical, and there were changes that I needed to make, and a lot of fiddling to get it going. And so the frustration came in that I felt like I was on top of it, and in reality, I was not. So mechs are like, you could follow along everything I did and still get different results than what I got. So I was just more trying to show you the process that I was going through to try and figure it out, rather than to have somebody go, "Oh, that's the way you do it." Thing I like about Ralph's um, eyelid mech is that it's fairly self-contained. Like, the springs are attached to the eye, which are attached to the mechanism, as opposed to it needing anything particularly solid to keep it from squishing on itself. Like, all the things that are resistant against each other, and therefore it's pretty easy thinking. Well, easy to um, make it a unit. The problem is one thing is wrong and then none of it works. So I actually have two of those on the back of Ralph's head that are just pinned on, but the rest of them are all sewn on. And there's probably an easier way to do it. Like, I probably could do each half of his head as a separate little wig that I sew off the head, but I don't know. I'm so afraid that I end up with a big bald spot somewhere that this I can at least kind of make corrections for as I go. It's just a little bit more time consuming and less repeatable. I don't know that I'll be able to duplicate this haircut exactly again, but I don't know that it's necessary to exactly duplicate it either. Whose bright idea was it to put these ostrich feathers at the bottom? Oh yeah, mine. Um, okay, so I just basically bring it down to just past the tip of this thing and just do a little whip stitch. If I can pick up the needle. I'll get pretty good at this after I've made the hundreds of them. I mean, this is bad. I mean, this is not bad, but this is a lot of work. But I could not imagine having to individually punch each hair like they do on some puppets. Like, you watch those guys putting hair on, I don't know, baby Yoda, Grogu. All those hairs are individually punched. That would just be maddening. I could not handle it. Be like, what would be really good design idea? A bald Yoda. A bald baby Yoda. I mean, like, I'm going to the beach. It'll be really good though to have this entire group back. I mean, sounds like they live in my second bedroom, which I guess they kind of do. But it'll be good to have all these puppets again. There's been kind of a thing hanging over my head these last 12 years of not having this puppet in my little group. He was a very popular character, and he was very easy to write for. Just basically get angry. Although I don't usually perform him, although I may do that from now on. Who knows? Eventually, I'll get Eric on here to do it. At least one more time. The constant staring at the red mess with your eyes. I built a bright pink puppet once, and it really messed up. I have such a hard time. Just a second. I have a hard time seeing red anyway, so I wouldn't know if it messes it up. I'm just happy, and again, part of me wonders if I'm completely off base because I am a little colorblind, but I'm just happy that the red of this fabric or this fur is similar enough to the red of the ostrich plume, which is similar enough to the red of this thread that I don't have to worry about it. That's the biggest thing. I mean, it could be that they're all painfully different and I just don't know the difference, but to my eyes, they look great. And no dyeing or anything I wouldn't know how to first think about how to dye these things, but no dyeing was necessary, which is great. I'm a little concerned that the new red will be a different, like too different of a red, like the mouth was, the ultra suede was, but I mean, what can you do? Okay, home stretch, and none of the little ones get the red plume, so or the ostrich feather. So those will go a little faster. And I only have 4 of those. Yeah, I have 4 of the little ones I need to make. Oh, good. According to Dave, who can definitely see color better than I can because he could see differences in the coloration of some of the peach that I dyed at one point. They look the same. So I actually thought about, and I may still do this, of getting a orange or a crimson red that I could mix into Ralphie's hair to again differentiate it just a little bit. I also have some gray and some white, and I thought about putting some little pieces of plume into Ralph's hair, giving him a little bit of gray at the temples, but I don't think it'll go that far. Maybe the next version. I don't know. Ralph in the comic is addicted to coffee. He never sleeps. He's a maniac who's constantly upset about everything. And he just seems like somebody he'd be prone to be going prematurely gray. In addition to his other problems. Ouch. I'm sure I'm going to be finding these plumes everywhere for years. Now, I'm not going to do any trimming on this fur. I mean, I want it, the more wild, the better. But on Mayberry, I actually do trim the back of his hair so that it's kind of short at the back and long in the front. So this fur is pretty manageable. This would actually make a pretty good dog's tail too, this pattern. I don't know about with the ostrich plume, but maybe. I think there's ostrich on Sprocket, isn't there? In his tail? I know there is on the Fraggles. Let's see. That was something I had to come across when I was coloring the comic. Is he said that wouldn't it go pink rather than gray? Um, when I would color the comics, I usually what I do is I have I color it CMYK, and so Ralph's hair is 100 magenta, 100 yellow, and it looks fine. But when I put shading on it, how I usually do everything is I just put like a 10% or 20% black on top of it in Photoshop, and that'll make it darker. But what I found was that when I would add it to that, it would actually make it kind of a washed out color. And so I had to actually add more blue and to the mix, just so his hair wouldn't turn like a pink color from the 10%. It was very weird. I can't remember the exact way I used to do it, but yeah, I had this whole setup just for shading Ralph to make him look the way he did. All right, so there's another one. Because his hair was, that pure red. Okay, that's the last of this size. That should be enough for that. I'm getting my money's worth out of this red fringe, that's for sure. What else could I make out of it? Red Fraggle. I could make a red Fraggle. I think my days of making replicas are kind of behind me. I mean, I might still make them, but too much work and too much work to do for a client. I don't mind doing it, but one person's idea of what looks right is different than what another person's. So it's kind of a personal thing. And then if you are trying to do it for a client, it gets to be difficult. Whereas if you're just building for yourself, you're kind of like, yeah, good enough. Or it's terrible, I don't want to finish. Was the fringe expensive? It looks pretty dense compared to the sparse ones I purchased before. I bought it on Amazon. I'll put a link up later, but it's I think it was like $16 for this amount, which isn't a whole lot, but you can get a lot of done with it. I think it's, well, I have the package here. It's tells me nothing other than I can't use it in water. I don't know how many yards it is. It's looks like when it was started about 3 yards. I only started using it a little bit. I actually started with Amber's puppet that I did. I think that was the first I did it with. I might have done it with the dragon. I can't remember when I did which. But that was kind of the beginning of me using ostrich stuff, ostrich trim. I'd used ostrich plumes before, but yeah, this stuff is kind of a game changer. And I know people don't like to don't think it's ethical or whatever, but I don't know. I never met an ostrich that was nice to me. Take my revenge. I'm kidding. I knew an emu. An emu named Henry. Yeah, it was around, it was either $15 or $17 on Amazon. And I bought a couple different types. This is the type I like the best. It seems to be a little bit fuller. And I have it in yellow and I have it in red. And then I have some black, some gray, and some white in it from another manufacturer, which didn't seem quite as dense. But I think it was also cheaper. I think it was like $8. And I didn't need as much of it, so. One thing I was finding when I was putting this on last night is I could almost put them on like a geodesic dome. Because they have a triangular base, they kind of naturally fit together with each other, which is kind of neat. And also helps me to make sure that I'm not leaving a big bald patch somewhere. And I could have put some polyfill inside these, or some wire, but I opted not to because I wanted them to be able to flop around a little bit. I thought it might make him seem more like hair tufts as opposed to little stuffed animals being on his head. But who knows? Are you rolling it? No, I'm just folding it over. I'm just folding it over on itself at the very end. So I take about a half an inch and I fold it over into being like a quarter inch. I'm just folding the end of it. The seam runs along the bottom of it, and you'll never see it, or if you do, you won't notice it. And I'm not doing anything special with the way I'm sewing it either. It's just basically a really jagged seam, but the fur kind of hides that. All right, so I got all these guys done, which is great. I still need to make the small ones, but I don't need them right now. So I'm going to switch cameras and I'm going to pin these guys on, see how it looks. All right. Isn't that a great camera angle? Okay. Here, let me shut that window and pull this back a little bit. Okay, so you can see the pins right there. My thinking was, and I kind of mapped out how many I was going to need. You can see how this kind of is like a geodesic dome in a way. And that there's a little triangle that needs to be filled. And I just fill it. Oops. I throw pins all over this place. When I stitch this in, I'll make sure that there's no bald spot. I wish I could say about the same about myself. Okay, there's that. Okay, and then I think I may not need those little ones. So of course he won't stand on his stand. You can kind of see how his hair's going to look. See, I wanted to get enough body in the back there so that it kind of does it. I may, well, that goes right there. But that's disheartening. Okay. I may have to change out some of these for the small ones. So I'm going to make the small ones anyway. But I'm liking the way he looks. You could have also put down a layer of red felt underneath the feathers as coverage for the bald spot. No, I don't want to add any more bulk to him than he already has. But I mean, this works. I'm just telling you about it because that's kind of where I'm, trying to do it. I thought about actually putting fur, like a fur cap on there, but it's already so hard to sew it on. I think the one thing I could have done, and I did this a little bit when I was mapping it out, I think I could have sewn half of his hair together and then just attached it at the part and then along the edge and done the two halves that way. And that probably would have been the better way to do it. And I may do that on Ralphie. But again, I didn't know how many I needed to cover his whole face. So no. Amber says, are you going to point the tips more by trimming them or shaping them to keep it shaggy? I'm going to keep it shaggy. I mean, where's that? I don't have that shirt. Let me see. Well, I could just draw it. A second. Let me get my sketchbook. So when I draw him, I mean, usually I do this, and that's as much hair as he has, which I guess that's the way he usually looks. Right? But when he goes, for the vast majority of the time, he's such a mess. And I do a lot of this stuff going on with him. I think also pointing it would never get me the way I wanted it to look. I think really it's more going to be something like this. I don't know. No, I'm not going to point it. I'm not going to point his hair out. This is kind of what I envision him looking like when I'm drawing him. So I guess this is an ideal. This is kind of like the CGI version of Ralph. I don't know. Okay, let me make some more of these because it was so entertaining the first time. I'm gonna make some of these little guys. And I'll be Amber is the one whose podcast I'm doing later, Philo, which I'll put a link up to in just a few minutes. So without the piece of foam that's in there, or the ostrich feather, it's pretty easy. I just basically kind of whip stitch it shut. See how easy that is? Biggest thing is just getting it started. Yeah, there are many. I mean, Ralph's hair is so much a character of him that the wilder it looks, the better, I think. See, I always thought he kind of looked like Sideshow Bob, like his hair. That wasn't the intention, but I worry about it going too far that way. The fact that everybody called him Beaker was tough for me because I was like, I don't think he looks like Beaker at all. All right, Ambrose, see you later. Fluff, all this fluff. I think that in converting 2D characters to 3D like this, there's certain things that you just gotta make a decision with and live with. I mean, you try and get the essence of the character right, and hopefully people will be okay with the details. You know, a good example is how they handled Linus's hair in the Peanuts movie, the 3D one, because his hair would just look like a bunch of worms if you actually had it, but adding a little bit of shading to it makes it look a little less weird. Um, but it still looks like Linus. It's a choice, though. I mean, the good news is if I am able to use this fur in conjunction with the new Ralphie fur that I'm getting, I'll have a few of them left over. So I'm already ahead on that one. I would have hated to have his hair on there halfway and then have to switch reds and then have a definite line to it. I'll tell you what the Peanuts movie did for me is it gave me hope for 3D animation. I mean, I saw things like the Toy Story characters. The Pixar characters they tend to be designed like characters. Even like Buzz Lightyear and Woody have some things about them that design wise I don't like. Their eyes are too high on their head, that sort of stuff. But seeing a 3D version of characters, what did I do with my that adhered to the aesthetic of the original designer, Charles Schultz, made me think that this is an art form that can work. So many times, like you look at Hey Scoob, okay, if you've seen that, but I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailers for it. Hey Scoob, they decided to not adhere to the way the characters look like, not using that design, and kind of doing a generic look to all the characters. And I think that's a mistake. I think if you're going to use 3D and you're going to treat it like a tool, way to do it, that the Peanuts movie made a lot of good choices. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, I like him better in 2D as well. Like, I think the Shrek characters are probably the worst designed of any characters I've seen. Like, they're so hideously badly designed. I'll just put that out there. When I think of bad design, what do I think of? Shrek. Close second, Family Guy. I'm very opinionated when it comes to that sort of stuff. Okay, well, let me talk about that. So BJ actually built the prototype for that. He built the Scooby-Doo. It was great. It was beautiful. And then we were kind of in the process of trying to work that deal, or he was, and it disappeared. And then they made the other. They went with somebody else. I think Henson did it, or was it Drew Massey? So, yeah, it's kind of sad. I mean, if you, it's not up anymore, but if you looked on the old Puppet Design Studio, you'd see the original Scooby-Doo and Captain Caveman and a couple other characters that they did that BJ built. I'm not saying that the ones that they made were bad. It's just it's kind of difficult when another company comes in and takes it, underbids it, or I don't know what. I mean, it was perfect. That's what I meant to say. But Scooby-Doo and really all the Hanna-Barbera characters, they're difficult in themselves because their side views and three-quarter views and front views don't line up at all. So you're always making design choices to try and make it still look like. I didn't work on any of those, but you're trying to reconcile all the things that don't work on the character while still making it look like the character. So that was a difficult project. I'm going to be sneezing out red fur, I think. So I've been thinking about those antenna tops, which I probably should have done before I did all this hair work, because I'm basically going to have to seal the puppet in a plastic bag with just the antenna sticking out so that I can paint those antenna tops once they're on there. So that would have been a little bit easier to do if I hadn't already put the hair on there. I guess we'll see. Guess we'll see how it all comes together. Yeah, the Scooby was up there. I we don't have that website anymore. It devolved into something where I was just getting message after message asking where the chowder puppets were, or if they could buy a Glee puppet for $50, and so I finally just got rid of it. But yeah, it was up there. The Scooby. It was very similar to what they used, but it would have been nice to. I mean, after the good job that they did on it, that we got the work. But BJ did a lot. He did like a Ricochet Rabbit. He did a um, Kung Fui. Trying to think of some of the other characters he did. But yeah, they all turned out great, and they were all over the office there at Warner Brothers for years. That was right around the same time we were doing the Teen Titans Go as well. So maybe we, couldn't have taken it on. I don't know. You'll have to check his website. Maybe not, because I don't think they were ever used in anything. I think they were just for demo purposes or for somebody's office. BJ has a website. It might be under I Make Puppets, or I'm not sure. I know he has an online uh, portfolio of stuff. You probably could go back to the Wayback Machine and look up Puppet Design Studio and find it there too. Okay, there's three. Last one. Oh, it's getting hot in here. Yeah, those Teen Titan puppets are great. I didn't actually do anything on those other than I was a puppeteer. I puppeteered Cyborg. It's also my only on-screen credit, in that I was the hands of the puppeteer that got in camera. And I can't remember if that was actually in the script, or that my hands just ended up and they ended up making a joke out of it. Well, this would have taken a lot longer had I not had that original wig. Not wig, but the original Ralph head that I was had scavenged all those tufts off of. But I think, this is why puppets cost so much. The good ones. I could just have easily have just taken a thing of red hair and a red thing and, okay, that's his hair. But how many hours have I spent making these for this hair? Actually, I think the way that this would have, the way that I think his hair should be is like if I had about 30 of those troll dolls, those big troll dolls, and I just put their hair on there and tufted them up. That would be the way to do this. So it actually looked or maybe those pens, those pens that the girls used to have that had the tufts of fur on them, like that, which I guess is essentially what I'm doing. His hair actually, back in the day, was based on, well, I drew the character, and then my brother said, it looks like Ralph. And I said, who's Ralph? And he says, the greatest American hero. And so that's how he got his name, he's named after the greatest American hero's hair. Okay, so I got all these tufts of hair done, which should actually cover his whole head now, which is great. I can put these away because I don't need any more of this. No, he never made a Shaggy. He's just a pup named Scooby-Doo that he built. And I probably used about 18 inches worth of this on this puppet. So I didn't use very much of it. This is the white of that other stuff I had. And you can see how it's not quite as dense. There's not as much of it either. They're happy feathers. I have a few of these. Okay. Well, let's see. I've been on here for an hour and a half. I've been on here for about an hour and a half, and I got a lot accomplished, but I think I'm probably gonna head out. I might attach some of these offline, but I'm gonna put a link up. But join us for Philo later today, and I'll be drawing for an hour and a half with Amber, and it's always fun. It's always fun to do. So have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.